hey, let's see if there are certain guys that we don't see in practice that do work better with him, and they're just trying to test out a few things. There's like week 1 of the preseason.
I'm not moving them yet.
Yeah, you are. You're
I
like,
just
yeah, don't
no,
draft
just
Cam.
no.
You're like,
Keep
no, screws Cam Skattebo.
This show is the reactions to things that we need to continue to watch for. If you just turned a blind eye to Skattebo and didn't watch the rest of the preseason, then that would be the wrong move. That's the point.
I think Jake's right. Keep an eye on it. And also Isaiah Likely. But the thing with Likely, if you just look at the snaps, it's like, oh my God, what was going on? But he did run a route on 6 of the 7 dropbacks. He just literally wasn't on the field for run plays. That feels like a mindful decision to just get him out there for some routes and not a sign that he's not going to be playing a bunch. Because again, we've gotten the camp reports about him being the number 1 option as well. But yeah, I will say the scat usage was also interesting with the context that as much as I usually don't give a single damn about the unofficial depth charts, it was the Skattebo or Tracy there. So they didn't come out of nowhere.
At Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog Fantasy Football 2026 Rankings Update. We got some preseason to talk about, but mainly some injuries to key players that you are probably drafting. What to do, we'll update the rankings. You can find the entire rankings down in the show notes along with Jake's rankings and Ian's rankings. Make it easy on yourself. Mine will be pinned to the top though, so you use those ones first. That's what we've been talking about on this show, and we'll be talking about today. Breece Hall on Monday morning, leaves practice with a groin injury. Not sure the extent of it yet, Jake. This blows up all the work that you just did, but typically 2 to 4 weeks unless it's very severe.
Yeah, that was fun. I spent the early 3 hours of the day updating this customizable projections, and then you're like, hey, by the way, we're going to start with Breece Hall. I'm like, now what? I think, honestly, if he's fine, we actually need more news. We know. But if he's fine by week 1, I mean, that's really the thing. Do we really want Breece Hall? Do we really glean anything from Breece Hall playing in the preseason anyway? So if he's out there for week 1, if it sounds like it's not going to be major, then we're not really moving our ranks anyway. The really telltale thing here is that what we were already talking about previously is that Braelon Allen is one of the underrated handcuffs to have because he plays for the Jets. So everybody's just like, yeah, whatever. He should have been in that range and should be in the range with all the high-end backups that we're taking elsewhere too.
I know that you were out on Breece Hall, generally speaking, due to price, Ian. Would you bump him down, or would you be like, no, he is where he is? This is part of the deal.
Now I might actually start getting in on the game if he's going to become a round 4 pick all of a sudden. Same kind of sentiment with Jeremiah Love, but not ideal, guys. I hope they're okay by week 1, but what's the common adage in fantasy football? Injuries are going to find you. Don't seek them out for yourself. And we now have them to Breece Hall and Jeremiah Love here. So certainly doesn't help. To Jake's point, Braelon Allen was the key kind of main handcuff in the preseason action. Had a nifty 31-yard touchdown run, but it was with Isaiah Davis sideline with a little knee issue himself. So I don't think Braelon deserves to be up in the, Tank Bigsby, Mike Washington tier of handcuffs. But, last couple rounds of your draft, you can throw the dart.
If you want to get in on a package with updated rankings, projections in real time, highly suggest 4for4.com/Mayo. That gets you 25% off. You can get the season long, the DFS, the betting package, whatever one that you want to get. You get 25% off of that at code Mayo. That's the number 4, the word 4, F-O-R, the number 4.com/Mayo to figure it out. You said Jeremiah Love. That's the word of the day.
Wow.
I mean, I already look like Pee-wee. I can sound like him anyway.
I mean, I just know from history that people already said that you look like that. Have you ever dressed up like him for Halloween?
I have. There was a Halloween show that we did where I dressed as Pee-wee Herman.
Wow. See, there you go.
Respect.
But I don't want.
Have you ever wanked it in a movie theater, Pat?
Whoa.
Jake, that's what he got in trouble for.
Have I ever wanked it in a movie theater? No, Jake, I have not.
Never know with you. Just making sure.
Ian's feeling what I'm putting out here.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, to be clear.
Hey, you're in a porn. What do people think happens in porno theaters? Honestly.
Everybody's there for the dialogue.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like
I did not see this transition coming.
I got 100 minutes to kill. Oh, there's a good porn going. Let's go. Okay, so Jeremiah Love has a high ankle sprain. This is bad, and this makes me not want to draft him. I am actively going to be moving him in my rankings because Not only is it like, who knows how long he's going to be out for, what's he going to be like when he comes back? Typically, running backs coming back from a high ankle sprain are considerably worse for the first few weeks until they get back up to speed. He will be okay at some point this year, but for where he's currently going in drafts, that's not so good. Looking at my top 200 rankings, I have Jeremiah Love at number 36. So I was probably pretty low on him anyway. Ian, I would now want to put him lower.
Again, I think it's kind of similar sentiment as Breece Hall. If we can go ahead and get him in round 4, okay. But previously, man, I was just kind of taking some of the more baller wide receivers or even Colson Loveland ahead of him. So, yeah, again, same conversation. Cardinals, Jets, they're going to suck. They're probably going to have a, rookie quarterback under center for our most important fantasy playoff weeks. And now everyone gets to be bailed out from their horrible takes about these running backs just because they got injuries in August. So congrats, guys. Now you don't draft running backs from one of the worst offenses in the NFL. Like, that was ever a good idea, Jake.
Funny thing is between the two of them, I had Love one spot in front of Breece Hall before this happened, and I'm not moving Breece Hall yet. I will, because I was already not as down. I don't know, Ian, where did you have him? Like, I have him at like 17 before this news. Breece Hall.
Yeah, no,
So,
I think that mid.
I think we were pretty. Yeah, we were pretty similar.
It's overall where I'm a little bit lower.
Yeah, so it's very similar in Breece Hall. Jeremiah Love, I already moved him down. He's outside my top 50. He's actually down almost by 70 overall, and now he's down at RB 20. He's RB 25. Like, why? Like, why am I gonna draft him in front of Bucky Irving? Why am I gonna draft him in front of DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Brooks, who potentially has the lead from week 1? Travis Etienne, like, even in a split backfield, I'm somebody that's like worried that Kamara's not going to go away, and I'm taking all these guys who, one, who we know. 2, we know are starting the season. And then to Pat's point, like, what do we know when Love comes back? Allgeier's going to get the workload. Allgeier's been an RB1 in fantasy, very volume reliant, but in his first season before Bijan Robinson got there, it's not like they even have to force Love to have the ball when he comes in. And this is somebody who LaFleur might be the biggest idiot already this season. Went there and said, well, he's a rookie, so we don't need to give him all the work this season. And then says he's a rookie, but we're going to give him all the work in the first game because he's a rookie. Like, this dude's already an idiot. But anyway, it just comes down to the reason I was already lower on Love than most people is because we just went through this with Genty. He plays for a bad team. Even 60% of the touches on a bad team is not going to get you RB1 performance. So, yeah, you can call me crazy. I actually wanted to push him even lower. When are we going to get him, and what is it going to look like when we get him?
Well, I think that if you can afford to, keep him on ice for a while on your fantasy team, being a 5th round pick, 6th round pick, Ian, there is some, if he is as good as people say that he is, then all of a sudden that maybe for later in the season that can come around. But I'm looking at my rankings right now. As I mentioned, I had him at number 36 overall. And I'm thinking, like, would I rather draft David Montgomery or Jeremiah Love? And I'm thinking, do I have David Montgomery too high? Because I don't want to draft him either.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe now I'm having to stand Jeremiah Love.
He's your guy now.
I guess now
here,
he's
Ian,
guy.
I'll toss it up to the other position. This is names at wide receiver I have in front of him. Would you rather draft Love or Burden or Tate or Odunze or Jameson Williams or Christian Watson? Like, these are, like, I'd rather just take those wide receivers if I could get him in the 6th. But that's why I have him in the 6th. We're talking about first 5 rounds, and we're still going to take somebody who might start the season on ice, as Pat said.
I mean, he could also just be fine for week 1. Honestly, I was pretty impressed to see him so much dominating the snap share. I think he had like 11 of 14 first-team snaps in that long drive. I mean, I thought it was going to be a bigger issue with Tyler Allgeier. So had the hurdle, had the spin. Is he going to be less than 100%? Probably. But learning doctors out there on Twitter, guys, believe he could be okay after the first quarter of the season. So I'm pretty sure, like, they're not amputating the ankle at this point. So I'm now kind of cautiously optimistic Jeremiah Love can have an okay rookie year.
Would you still rather have someone like, let's say, DeAndre Swift? I think is a good one. DeAndre Swift or Jeremiah Love, knowing what we know now.
Swift.
Still going Love.
I think I'd go Swift there. What about Judkins?
Judkins.
Love.
Easy.
What do you mean easy? Judkins looked horrible, man. That offense looks horrible.
Offense
It's
looks
not even
horrible,
catch
but
passes.
I don't care. 300 touches and the most horrible offense will get you top 20 performance.
Let's talk about that Browns offense, because the quarterbacks looked horrible.
It was bad.
Yes. People were creaming themselves based on one Shadur pass. It's like they didn't see the rest of the passes.
Oh man, he and Gabriel both threw just atrocious interceptions. Watson's numbers looked okay just on the box score, but
he
then you
didn't look good.
realize like 40 plus yards came on a little
You
screen
watched the game.
to Dylan Sampson. So wasn't pretty. He just continues to look like that same just physically limited, conservative quarterback that unfortunately he's been his entire time in Cleveland. So one bad option after another. I wish they would just start Taylor Green at this point. Let's see if one of the most athletically gifted quarterbacks we've seen make the NFL can be anything. And if he sucks, then great. You set yourself up even better to go get Arch Manning. The good news, though, Pat, Casey Concepcion can play.
It just seemed like all of their skill guys were good. Just no one could get them the ball.
Yeah. Well, and to prove that, like, at least while the Jets seem to be looking smart, the Browns continue to Browns because you bring up Taylor Green, Ian, and he's off on the sidelines getting talked up by Sanders in practice. He's not even practicing with the first or second unit to even see, like, why did you even make this pick then? Like, what are we even doing? So, yeah, this is the Browns are going to continue to Brown. But, I mean, even if you have, let's say, 15 passing touchdowns for the entire season and 3,200 passing yards, like, that's probably about as miserable as you can get. Concepcion should be fine, and then we'll probably have a second unit. I like how Ian just glossed past the fact that Jeudy was stuck in the slot as the third wide receiver and only on the field for 3 wide.
He did play.
He came off the field off the drive too. Shut up, Jay.
He was. The three of them all played together in those 3 wide receiver sets, and there was no other random name. Like even my main man, Cedric Tillman, couldn't get in on the action.
This slot stuff is so annoying because you can
slot.
just use it as a positive or negative. For Tedero McMillan, we're like, oh my God, he gets to run snaps out of the slot now. But for Jeudy, it's like, oh, look at him wasting away in the slot.
Because it matters if you're only on the field in 3 wide. That's why.
He ran a route on all 6 of Watson's dropbacks and bounced. What are you trying to say, Jake?
I'm saying that he's going to suck this year. That's what I'm gonna say.
I certainly hope not for
quiet.
Ian's sake.
I know.
I mean,
Please, just trade him to Indy. What are the Colts doing? Keenan Allen, that's your king?
That's not a bad idea. It's just trade him off this team. I think that's what, jokes aside, I actually think that's why, because I don't think the Browns have much incentive to keep him out there. They not find out what you have in Boston and Concepcion. And like you, even Ian Bond was once again getting talked up during practices. Like, so for the Browns, if they're going to be like the Jets and look forward, to Ian's point, Jeudy should not be on this team anymore.
Agreed.
do we like? I have Concepcion ranked above Denzel Boston. I got Boston at 159, and I got Concepcion at, where's old KC here, at 141. I don't have super high hopes for either of these guys this year, honestly.
I put Concepcion higher, but I do, and even in my ranks, jokes aside, I would go Concepcion and Jeudy than Boston, because I was making jokes with Ian on that, but I do think Boston and Jeudy are going to like alternate of who's like out there more.
One argument, shout out to my old friend, still my friend, old coworker, Dre McFarland. He has brought up the point where, like, if Jeudy and Denzel Boston have 80 yards and a touchdown in week one, Boston's the one that everyone's going to freak the hell out about. So I do think in these closer situations, particularly in leagues where you can trade, probably just prioritize the rookie, because then their value is going to be going up more. But I got KC top 100, guys. We saw exactly what we need to see. If this offense is going to suck and the quarterbacks are going to suck, we need rush attempts, we need design touches, and we need an explosive lightning in the bottle player. And we saw all those things from KC out there.
You know, I can move him up. That's not hard. Just like few clicks in the rankings here. Well, how about
you're like Pat? He did what your strategy has been for years. Like Ian just brought up what you've argued and kind of like always said. Like if something happens in week 1 or 2, who's the bigger jump in waivers and trade value, and that's who you should be targeting.
Listen, I didn't need to add on to it because Ian said it so well. Honestly,
I know, but I wanted to hammer a point home because it's a really good point that you guys have always continued to make.
Yeah, and people don't think about it those ways. Like you, not only do you like you're drafting, that's one thing. Knowing who you're drafting against, whether that's on Underdog during best ball, you're not going to know who those people are. Even in some of these like leagues, the flex league that you run, Jake, like, yeah, you might casually know some people. You're not going to know everyone. Most people who are doing this like work friends or home, like the friends they've had for years. They know the tendencies in the draft room that they have, but they also know the tendencies of what players get overvalued in their home leagues. And in 95% of home leagues, like the hot rookie who had a good game is just going to be wildly misevaluated.
100%.
Is Alec Pierce ever going to practice again? Is he ever going to play another game, I guess is my question. Because it doesn't seem like it based on these reports.
I told you it felt like the CMC thing the last time we did the show together. It's starting to feel like, are we going to even get him this season, period? He's outside my top 100 at this point, like well outside. He's outside my top 50 wide receivers at this point.
And even like the discussion about how he's hurt and then all of a sudden like, oh my God, Josh Downs and Tyler Warren to the moon. Defense is going to have like 12 guys, not even 11, 12 guys in the box. Like, what do you guys do? Is Jonathan Taylor, is Tyler Warren running these BS RPO routes? And then it's Josh Downs, 5'7", all 180 pounds of them, running little pivots with inside, 5 yards in the line of scrimmage. And oh yeah, your quarterback's coming from a torn freaking Achilles. That's going to result in him being hindered mobility-wise and arm strength-wise. This is going to be a horrendous offense. And if I'm wrong, then kudos to Shane Steichen.
I moved Casey Concepcion up to 115, a spot above Alec Pierce, because I just maybe Concepcion will be actually on the field. That's helpful for fantasy purposes. I've heard this.
It helps to actually be able to play the game.
Yeah, just being in uniform, running routes, all positive things. Not what I'm hearing from Alec Pierce right now. Did you know there's a version of your home that you haven't even lived in yet, where the rooms actually feel finished, and more importantly, the sun isn't blasting you in the face at 6 a.m? Blasting in the face at 6 a.m. Don't know what you're up to, but the sun will get you. That's what it'll do. It'll wake you up for the day, and it'll be awful. Everyone's had those blinds that drive you insane. They're crooked, one side rolls up higher than the other, and you live with them for way longer than you should because replacing blinds feels like a hassle. Blinds.com actually makes it incredibly simple. You can customize your window coverings, get samples shipped to your door fast and free, and even add professional measurement and installation. They've covered more than 15 million windows over 30 years, so they know what they're doing. Right now, Blinds.com is giving my listeners an exclusive $50 off when you spend $500 or more. Just use code PATMAYO at checkout. Limited time offer, rules and restrictions apply. See Blinds.com for details. Summer grilling? Awesome. Off the charts good, 10 out of 10. Until you start cooking anything besides burgers and steaks or hot dogs, vegetables disappear through the grates. Fish sticks, well, they fall apart. That's for cust. And sometimes cleanup takes longer than actually cooking the meal. That's why I've become obsessed with Hexclad Barbecue Collection. Their hybrid barbecue grilled pan gives you the searing power and smoky flavor you want from the grill, but with the non-stick convenience that makes fish, seafood, and vegetables way easier to cook, making me healthier too, because I'm eating more vegetables and fish now. The perforations still let the heat and smoke through without sacrificing half your dinner to the grill gods. Plus, cleanup, incredibly easy. There's a reason Gordon Ramsay uses Hexclad, and every Hexclad product comes with a lifetime warranty. For a limited time only, my listeners get 10% off with my exclusive link. Head to hexclad.com/mayo. Again, support this show and get 10% off at hexclad.com/mayo. Make sure to let them know that I sent you. Here's the big one from the weekend, though. What's going on with Jordan Tyson's hamstring? It sounds bad.
He jogged to the huddle in pregame.
Sweet.
So like this is what we give us an ankle. Switch this out with somebody. Switch it with Jeremiah Love. Just anything but the hamstring, because this is what he was dealing with in college. This is why he didn't test the combine. This is everything like we just didn't want to happen, and the exact same thing happened. It was the hamstring. So unfortunately, I mean, outside wide receiver 3 range at this point, just because again, any other muscle, I wouldn't be panicking as much. But I push Chris Olave higher. I don't know if we're going to talk about Drake London, but you want to talk about performances. Are we going to talk Drake London and Tua, Pat? Because I swapped them. I put Chris Olave in front of Drake London at this point.
All right, we can get to that. So here's the quote from afterwards from Kellen Moore about Jordan Tyson. Multiple hamstring injuries derailed the 2025 college season, kept him from participating in the pre-draft process. Kellen Moore says he initially said the new injury is unrelated to Tyson's previous injuries. But then New Orleans football's Mike Triplett noted that Moore changed his wording to say it wasn't, quote, necessarily related. That sounds even worse.
Does he have a third hamstring? How is it not related?
Everyone that just said, I don't care about his production, I don't care about the film, he can't stay healthy. Right now, they're right.
Unfortunately.
So where
This
does
is like
I had him
Go
at
ahead.
6. I had him at 67. And that was in the same range as like Quentin Johnston, George Kittle, Mekhi Lemon, Marvin Harrison Jr. It feels like he's below that now. Would you rather have him or Carnell Tate?
Tate.
Yeah, Tate.
Michael Pittman and Jaden Reed or Matthew Golden.
Relax, Pat.
Well, that's the next tier of guys I have.
Well, no, I would say yes on Pittman, assuming he's healthy. I mean, he's dealing with his own issues at this point, but it seems like he's okay finally again. But I would take Pittman. He's the number 2. McCarthy's offense. They're going to run 2-3 wides all the time, and there's a big question who the third is. We know Pittman's the one. I mean, if Pittman outperformed DK Metcalf, nobody would be shocked by it. So I'll take Pittman. I'd probably take Reed. Who was the other one? Because I would not take who the other name you said was.
Let's see. Down, Shakir, Coker, Jacoby Myers, Romeo Doubs, Jordan Addison.
Yes, Coker. Yes, Downs. Most of those other no.
Pretty much none of those guys, especially Pittman, are we going to be sitting here in December going, oh, man, I'm in my fantasy championship, and I just really want to thank Michael Pittman's contributions to this team. Jordan Tyson, the way things were trending and the talent that we know he is, I mean, there's a reason why at least I was a little bit lukewarm about drafting Chris Olave. To me, it was resembling an Egbuka Godwin situation where maybe we have the guys in the wrong order in terms of who the targets are going to be going to. So certainly not ideal. I'm trying not to cope. I guess I'm coping, but man, Jordan Tyson, get better, bro, please.
I had Olave, Jake, in that like Luther Burden, Lad McConkey tier of guys because I had them elevated above most other people who do rankings. That was behind the Neighbors, DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle type tier. Does he get bumped up into that area now?
So I was already higher. I had Chris Olave inside the T. Higgins, Devontae Smith range, actually in front of both of them. I had him just missing the tier with Pickens and Lamb and Collins and London. And like I said, I moved Olave in front of London twofold. One, because Olave is still Olave at this point. And I know I'm not disagreeing with Ian on the Tyson talent stay in front. Like I even said, there's a potential for him to be the best wide receiver for the Saints. I didn't think it necessarily would happen as a rookie, which is why I think I was still higher than most on Olave, is that we finally got Tyler Shook, a capable quarterback in the second half, who honestly was good. He wasn't terrific. He was just so much better than what they had before. So I was like, why can't we just see Olave? If Shook's going to take a next step forward and help Tyson as a rookie, why can't Olave still benefit and just replicate last year? So that's where I was on Olave to begin with. I wanted to present all that to say I moved him up, but that was because I moved Drake London down because Tua did not look like an NFL quarterback. We talk about the situation with the Browns, the Falcons. The fans are calling for a Division II quarterback, Jack freaking Strand, who I don't even know. I think the only person on the planet who knows that guy is Emory Hunt because he scouts everybody. They want him to play snaps at quarterback because they just want something that's not Tua, and they can't get Penix on the field. Like Tua threw it 2 yards at a time and threw most of his targets to Kyle Pitts and tight ends. Like I am worried about Drake London now. I still have him aside my wide receiver ones, but I would take Collins and Olave and both Cowboys, and I moved him down a few spots.
Yeah. I'll put Olave above Drake London. You can sell me on that. That makes him number 20 in my rankings. Because I had London pretty low anyway. I had him at 20. Like, would you go Devonta Smith, the top tight ends, George Pickens, Malik Neighbors, DJ Moore? Like, are you as worried about Drake London as Jake is?
No, because if anything, you can argue that Tua looking as bad as he did should hopefully open up the door for Penix to get back out there. Is Penix particularly good? But that guy wants to freaking feed London 20 plus.
He can't play either.
So
he's still hurt.
All right. I don't think the Falcons are going to be good, but they weren't really good last year. Okay. Can Tua just be the same as 38-year-old Kirk Cousins? Probably. Like, is that a very sad bar for Falcons fans to have to try to shoot for? Yes, I understand why they were booing at halftime of it. But man, London, we could look up in December and he's number one in the NFL in targets. So it's concerning.
I will say this, Ian.
So condensed around Bijan and Drake that it's tough to move him that low.
No, it's still a wide receiver one. He's still inside my top 12 for wide receivers. I will say what you just said. If we never got Tua and Penix was 100% and Penix was starting this season as the quarterback, I wouldn't move Drake London because he's going to pepper the living hell out of him. 35% target share. The question is Penix even playing? Like, he's still getting all these reports that his doctor told him he has the most beautiful ACL he's ever seen in his history of being a doctor or whatever it was.
Who is it? Is Trump his doctor? This is the greatest ACL I've ever seen. It is fantastic.
Yeah, you didn't see that report where his doctor told him like he shouldn't have any more issues for the rest of his life or something like that with his ACL. So it might be Trump. But like if we knew it was Penix, I wouldn't have touched Drake London. But if Tua's starting games to start the season and then we don't know when Penix is going to play at some point, that's a legitimate concern because Tua looked trash. Tua looked like let's give McDaniel more credit than he deserved leaving the Dolphins because he did a hell of a lot with Tua.
Ian, it's a beautiful ACL. Nothing like I've ever seen. It's very good.
I like Jake's last point there. Let's just keep moving the Chargers up the ranks, man.
There you go.
Emeka Egbuka's week 1 availability. They're, quote now, very optimistic about this because here's the thing, Ian, your boy, Egbuka, sounds like he might have turf toe. And they're just not saying
some sort of toe sprain. It's the best turf toe we've ever seen.
It's the greatest turf toe you've ever seen.
Actually,
very
here,
good
you want to go
toe.
back? I pulled up the quote, Pat. This is the quote. This is an amazing ACL. You should never have any more knee problems for the rest of your career. Somehow.
Egbuka is someone where I can't quite get him in with the Waddle, Devontae Smith, like Lab McConkey, borderline wide receiver 1 stuff. But I think he's kind of similar. I got him right next to Rashee Rice, Luther Burden, Mike Evans cracking that tier as well. I've just gone back and forth a little bit this offseason. Could I see us waking up end of December and be like, oh, he's about to get 100 catches? Yeah, but also, I don't know. Buccaneers and Eagles offenses, we have a lot of optimism for passing games that just lost a long time alpha, man. Maybe the Buccaneers just aren't going to be as good as we think. And also we see Godwin and McMillan and Ted Hurst and even the Tasmanian devil, Tez Johnson, actually eat into these targets a little more than we're expecting.
I'm still unconvinced that we see McMillan and wife here, Jake, because he's just perpetually injured as well.
Yeah, that was frustrating. I actually had just written up McMillan as a late round flyer. And let's not forget him, that he could even surpass Chris Godwin if stays healthy. He led the team late in the season with everybody healthy. Everybody healthy in quotes late last season. So I think if it is turf toe, we obviously have more concerns because those things don't go away by playing. It just takes almost an entire season, as we've seen from other players, especially at running back. So it's not quite as bad if it's a wide receiver, but I mean, if it is, I think the turf toe makes everybody fearful of how severe it could be because you could have it. It's a sprained toe. You could have a mild turf toe in 2 weeks. You could be back. It's like we kind of just don't know, is what you were saying, is that nobody's really been clear of like how bad this is. So if it's something that lingers into the season, then Egbuka is going to be more of a wide receiver too. I'm not moving him down just because we don't have the information. I still have him as a top 15 wide receiver, but with admitted risk. Like there's a lot of risk here.
Yeah, I had him as a low wide receiver too anyway, so I'm going to leave him unchanged. I have him at 53. That's behind Devontae Adams. That's behind McLaurin. That's behind Rashee Rice. And then it's Egbuka on that list. So I think it's wide receiver number 21 for me. I kind of read the Bucs offense a lot like Ian just said, is that I just don't think they're going to be that good.
It kind of feels like about everything's going to go wrong again already for this team.
Yeah, what's the
Foles probably should have been fired already.
Yeah, and he hasn't been.
Just keeps rotating a new OC. Like, this is when you know it's bad, when you're just, the head coach is staying, but they're like, you need to fire your entire staff for you to stay.
You know what's going to happen? This is going to be last year. Remember Christian McCaffrey and everybody's like, how is he the only one staying healthy? This is going to be, now it's going to be Bucky Irving's turn. Somehow Bucky Irving, after all the concerns this offseason, is going to stay healthy and everybody else is going to get hurt again.
Well, what do you think the more likely scenario is? At the end of the year, Egbuka is the reason you won a fantasy title, or Todd Bowles is fired?
Well, you said the end of the season, so I'll say Egbuka because I don't know that Bowles makes it that far.
Matt LaFleur said that Josh Jacobs' groin could, quote, potentially resume practicing next week. And he still has this lingering issue where he might get suspended as well. I still think that he is the option you want to have. But if we look behind him, you have MarShawn Lloyd in his curious case of constant hamstring injuries, and then Chris Brooks. But right now, Lloyd is healthy, and Lloyd is the primary backup. He would be the one that you would want to own, Ian. Are you prioritizing getting him in like the 11th, 12th round just in case this Josh Jacobs stuff turns out to be way worse than we're thinking?
I mean, it's a pretty good start, again, to have the guy already dealing with the groin injury. And then also the legal stuff, not exactly out of the weeds yet, according to that Adam Schefter report that came a little bit out of nowhere last week. Two pretty good things, man, and an offense that we like. That also, lest we forget, LaFleur over the years, man, whether it's Derrick Henry and Deion Lewis or Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones or Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, he's usually used two backs in the committee more years than not. It's only been these last 2 years where kind of Jacobs has been the only last man standing that we've seen him get force fed the football. So I don't think Lloyd's going to have like great standalone value or anything like that, assuming Jacobs is healthy, but it is on the table. It's a prospect I've liked ever since I heard Dane Brugler compliment to my boy Duke Johnson. So it seems like the injury gods for now, knock on wood, finally chilling out. And that gives, again, Lloyd that sort of Tajay Spears plus-esque sort of, handcuff upside and an offense we like. So yeah, I'm cool with that price.
Yeah, where do you think amongst the handcuffs that he should go? Like, is he we just brought up both Isaiah Davis and Braelon Allen. Like, is he in that tier of guys? Is he below that tier of guys? Like, in the pantheon of handcuffs, Jake, where do you think he goes?
I have him alongside like the Brian Robinsons and not quite Tank Bigsby, but very close to, I say like Woody Marks. I think like, again, like Woody Marks isn't super appealing because how inefficient he was, but he's one injury. Like he's right there. He's one injury away. I think the
Tracy
question I would
too.
kick back to Ian is, would you go Braelon Allen or MarShawn Lloyd as of today?
I go Lloyd. Again,
Yeah,
Isaiah Davis
I'm okay
wasn't
with
even
that. Same
sitting
range
up in that one. So we'll see. Obviously Breece is banged up as well. It's just tough. I'm doing actually a video on my YouTube channel this week where it's like, if every RB1 in the league went on vacation, how would we rank the RB2s elsewhere? Because I think that's what people care more about with the handcuff stuff. But it's tough because like I have Woody Marks ranked ahead of Tank Bigsby, but I totally get if you wanted Bigsby ahead just for the pure injury upside. But, if it's week 2 and we need 7 points, I would probably feel better about Woody Marks.
Yeah, but we're not. I guess that also is very contextualized to the size of league here. That those players become more valuable in 18 and 20 team leagues, which are played by like 1% of the population. And what generally we're talking about, 12 teams, and then give or take, you got your 14s and your 10s are going to be the most prevalent. That these guys hold no standalone value. That the real thing is, if, like you said, I think it's a great idea for a video. Should have stolen that. Should have told me so I could steal it. Do the video first, so you won't get to capitalize. Is if the guys were gone, who would be the best? That's really what we're looking for here. Or who has the more likely chance to, like for this example right now, like MarShawn Lloyd turns into a better pick because the guy in front of him is already dealing with stuff that makes him more valuable.
And that's honestly why I'm not too hyped up about Tyler Allgeier, even with the Jeremiah Love injury. Like, we still hate the offense. James Conner is still on this roster as much as we all like to pretend like he's not.
He's hurt.
It honestly compels the Cardinals to hold on to Conner a little bit longer. So not great for Allgeier. Like, okay, if you need a couple touches in the first month of the season, fine. But like, what scenario are we really going to need that? So I'm kind of with you on that, Pat. Like 18, 20 team leagues, you just need someone. All right, I guess I'll click Tyler Allgeier, but if you're starting him as your RB2 in week 1, like, that's a pretty bad sign for your fantasy team.
Yeah, this is my old JD McKissick move here, Jake, that when we played in those deeper leagues, that dude was good for 9 points a week, and that's all I needed.
No, and this is why I'm more so, because this is the same team that just said a few days ago before their game that James Conner has no timetable to return to 11-11. He's probably not playing this year at this point. Like Trey Benson can't back up. They were running Bam Knight. So I was going to make the joke and say, what's going to happen? Najee Harris is still lingering around, and he's going to end up on the Cardinals and that screw everything up with the Tyler Allgeier. Like, I think Tyler Allgeier, put it this way. I don't disagree inherently with what you're saying, Ian. I think Allgeier is an intriguing RB3 at the beginning of the season. If you started with wide receiver heavy, you need somebody so you can wait on some flyers that you took at running back, like with one step away or need time to develop or whatever it might be. If you like to Pat's point, you need somebody. No, it's not appealing, and probably by the middle of the season, you're not starting them, but it gets you through that beginning of the season, especially if you start with somebody that might be injured.
And those guys are more appealing to me if you do go zero RB, because part of the point of zero RB is that you're actively looking to find a running back emerge throughout the course of the year. This is a bridge to that. It just extends your window to find that running back to go, or even if you go hero RB, where you have the one stud, and then you have like 5 absolute goobers that you're hoping turn out well. Allgeier does provide you a little bit of a bridge potentially if Love is going to miss even 2 weeks. As someone you can start for 2 weeks, now your window to find a good running back is 3 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Said it more eloquently than I did.
Do I move Josh Jacobs? Because I had Josh Jacobs at 33. That was a spot ahead of Josh Allen, a spot behind King Tootin. Like, do I move him back behind like Skattebo and Kyron Williams and that next tier of guys that I have?
No,
I think it's fine. I have him RB 17 right there. Kyron, Love, Hall, Swift, Travis Etienne. By the way, we're just doing it for Travis, right? We can call Trevor Etienne still.
I don't think he's ever confirmed what he is at this point.
The only move I'll make, just looking at it, like what I would want to do in my drafts I was drafting today, I just swapped Josh Allen and Josh Jacobs. I had Josh Jacobs a spot ahead. If forced to that point in a draft, you're like, just give me Josh Allen. That sounds much better.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I have Jacobs at 15. So just because if he is healthy, I still think to go back to what you were saying before, like, yeah, they do use 2 running backs, but I still think Jacobs will be the goal line guy, which is that even with these split backfields, he generally leans on one of the 2 options consistently at the goal line. And I still feel like that would be Jacobs. Maybe I'm wrong on that, and we have time to tell on like how serious this injury will be. But I have Jacobs in the same tier of like the Judkins, the David Montgomerys of the world. They're behind the Walker, Hampton, Javonte Williams tier. The one is I'm actually in it. I know everybody's talking about how Tyrone Tracy got blown up, but I don't love that split. I mean, we went right down this list again. Like Harbaugh has done it with other teams. Harbaugh is doing it with this team. If you look at it, Greg Roman is on this coaching staff. Greg Roman likes split backfields as well. And everybody's just like, oh, Skattebo is going to walk into 300 touches. With what? Like Tracy's not going to go away. And I know he even took, it looked like if you watch that play, it looked like there might've just been more of a missed assignment by Tracy. Like maybe there was an audible that he didn't catch or something with Dart, because like Dart wasn't even looking that way. The play was bad, but even like throw those 2 guys aside. Devin Singletary was getting touches inside that committee to start the game. So I'm a little bit concerned that Skattebo is not going to be what everybody wants him to be this year.
There's the potential for that. There's also the potential that they're just where this is the first real on-field competition that this entire new coaching staff has, with still a very young quarterback who didn't play a bunch last year. That, hey, let's see if there are certain guys that we don't see in practice that do work better with him, and they're just trying to test out a few things. There's like week 1 of the preseason.
I'm not moving them yet.
Yeah, you are. You're like,
just
don't.
No, just no.
You're like,
keep,
no. Screw Cam Skattebo.
This show is the reactions to things that we need to continue to watch for. If you just turned a blind eye to Skattebo and didn't like watch the rest of the preseason, then that would be the wrong move. That's the point.
I think Jake's right. Like, keep an eye on it. And also Isaiah Likely. But the thing with Likely, if you just look at the snaps, it's like, oh my God, what was going on? But he did run a route on like 6 of the 7 dropbacks. He just literally wasn't on the field for run plays. That feels like a mindful decision to just get him out there for some routes and not a sign that he's not going to be playing a bunch. Because again, we've gotten the camp reports about him being the number 1 option as well. But yeah, I will say the scat usage was also interesting with the context that, as much as I usually don't give a single damn about the unofficial depth charts, it was the Skattebo or Tracy there. So they didn't come out of nowhere. And Jake mentioned Singletary. Like, he left after drive 2 with the rest of the starters as well. And he had a freaking sick 40-yard cutback run, guys. If Skattebo or Tracy did that, we wouldn't be hearing the end of it. But because it's freaking old man Devin Singletary cutting across the field, throwing a high step in there at the end, I'm getting hyped just thinking about it.
Devin Singletary felt old when he left the Bills to go to the Texans, which I think was like 5 years ago.
It does feel like he's been around for 15 years at this point.
Other Packers news, Matthew Golden played in those 2 wide receiver sets and not Jaden Reed. And the latest update on Tucker Kraft is that it's week by week, and they're going to gradually increase the snap count depending on the full range of practice. So it sounds like for week 1, he's going to be absolutely fine. So draft Tucker Kraft where you wanna. Ditto for George Kittle as an update too. There's on-field rehab from Achilles injury. From Matt Barrow says, I'm hitting numbers I need to hit, so I'm pretty close. We expect Kittle to be out there week 1, right?
We do.
I do.
I think no, he also made this, like, I don't want to be stupid about it at this point of his career. So I think that we expect him to be out there, but it also might not be 100%. Like the George Kittle we know, it might take 2 or 3 weeks. I think we'll have to see if he gets any action or any practice this point for week 2. I think that's just, but the thing is, we're shooting what we already had that conversation before. Oh no, I wasn't on the tight end show with you, but I know you guys probably talked about it. We've talked about it inherently with other things, that Kittle and Kraft have top 5 tight end upside, that if you need to take a flyer for the first 2 weeks just to go throw somebody in there while they're getting to 100%. But to go back to Kraft, this is why I don't have any shares of Golden or Reed, because I just think a healthy Kraft is the number 2, not these 2 guys.
Ian, I continue to have Kraft at 5 and Kittle at 6 at tight end.
Yeah, it is interesting to see the Packers be so deliberate with guys coming back from ACL. That's why Parsons isn't playing, to start the year. Apparently, if you have had, and this is, I believe, Kraft's first ACL, so it's not, involving him here, but again, I saw Parsons bring up how if you're a player for the Packers, you've had your second or, beyond ACL tear, like they force you to sit out at least the first 4 weeks of the season. So something to keep in mind in the early going. I do agree that when you're getting to that late in the draft, you can just find, a backup to get you through the first couple of weeks instead. Just saying though, Pat, for sitting here in week 3, and it's like, oh man, George Kittle looks like a shell of himself. It turns out the 33-year-old coming off a late season Achilles tear isn't, actually balling out there. Not going to be the most shocking thing.
No, I have Kittle at 67 overall because I want to prioritize getting him, but he's not going to pick 100. So you don't have to actually draft him in that spot. That it seems like a very low risk investment to me because you can move on from a tight end. There's 3 good tight ends. He is one of the other 3 who could be really good. After that, there's no difference. You really think Harold Fannon's leading you to a fantasy championship? No. Harold Fannon is far more likely to be cut from your team in week 4 than lead you to a championship and be a difference maker.
I'm also sorry to report that my boy Dalton Kincaid still very much stuck in a timeshare. We'll try again in 2027 though.
Maybe he can go to the CFL. Maybe then he could play all the snaps. Maybe. I'm saying maybe that could be the case for him.
No, it's funny. I'm not completely out on Kincaid. It's just funny that, and I know this isn't what Ian's doing, but Kincaid still has the splits and are oh my God, full on panic. But then we look at AJ Barner and the split over there and they're like, oh, look out. It might be the other one.
Arroyo?
Thank you. Arroyo is going to take over, even though they're splitting to start the season. I just
Barner rested. Oh, you meant last year. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
Continue.
Oh, so there's just the fact that there's a split in that with the Seahawks, and there's potential for him to stay healthy and take over the timeshare. If it's a timeshare at tight end, we should be concerned unless it's a situation where there's a reason to break out. So I'm not completely out on Kincaid yet.
Do you put any stock into Liam Cohen saying that the team's running back usage is, quote, going to have to be a little bit more by committee? Because I've been loving old King Tootin up here, but does this throw cold water on it for you?
Nope. You know what we said this time, Pat? Go back 365 days.
No.
Jaguars. Tank Bigsby's going to be sharing a lot with Travis Etienne. How did that work out? I am not concerned about this nonsense.
Ian?
I don't love for Chris Rodriguez's health sake, I am happy that his foot is okay and he's out there on the field. But I thought that was going to be a bigger issue, man. The fact that he has been able to be out there throughout training camp and actively working in with the first team offense, actively taking the short yardage. Unfortunately, guys, I think it's just kind of looking like the same sort of Jadarian Price, the same sort of Bucky Irving, kind of between the 20s, lead back, but not really someone who you can be overly confident with ranking anywhere near the RB1 land. So I've been going a little bit more wide receivers in that range than taking King Tootin recently.
So in the rankings, I have him at number 32. That's a spot behind Breece Hall still until we know more information. That's behind Javonte Williams and Etienne, but that's behind that tier of receivers that you were talking about, Ian. I got Waddle, DJ Moore, Neighbors, Pickens, Olave, London, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. They're all above Tootin for me, but I do have him above guys like Kyron Williams, Skattebo, Josh Jacobs, that tier of running back.
How about DJ Moore, though, Pat, your guy? You see the way he got completely left uncovered and ran upfield for 30 yards?
Yeah.
What was I thinking not drafting that dude?
That was part of he's a big slot, Ian. When you're a big slot, people don't cover you. Jake tried to tell you this.
One slot doesn't matter, but the other slot does. There you go.
What else do we got from the weekend here? Jacoby Lane. Interesting. For years, everyone's like, man, Rashad Bateman, what a player. You got to get him. He's going to have this breakout. It's is he?
Yep,
is there someone that can just take his spot and be on the field?
No. Bateman's a god.
Let's remember that it's also preseason and remember who Lane was playing with, and we can get excited for Lane to potentially take over
or Surratt
later in the season. That's the thing. There's a lot of love for Lane. Stribling tore it up, but Stribling also tore it up with look at who he's playing with on the field. Let's understand who they're still behind. They can get there in time, but I'd be beyond shocked if Lane and Stribling are tearing up as wide receiver 2s for the first 4 weeks of the season.
Well, let's talk about
Allen, though.
Oh, I want to talk about the Stribbler here for a second, Ian.
Stribbler.
He hasn't.
Wait, what did Ian say?
Well, he hasn't. I want to ask Ian here is that he has an actual path to being a starter on this team, and if so, where should we would you rather have him or Casey Concepcion?
I would still go KC. I just think Strib is going to be the number 5 target in this offense. It's Evans,
That's
CMC, and Kittle pretty clearly. And then we also have to worry about, again, some of the other complimentary receivers. But good news for Strib. Like, he should be starting. It's an offense we like. I just still think we're an injury or two away from him being someone we need to have in the lineup. So I've moved him up and everything into that, same range as KC, but I'm taking KC first just because, again, I think he could, clear 100 combined targets and rush attempts. Would be very surprised if that's the case for Stribling.
Jake, I think it's an interesting investment solely because all the players that Ian just named, pretty high injury risks that all of a sudden that he's just last man standing out there.
I mean, could be last man standing, but I mean, Debo doesn't have it's not like
he fits the old
Christian
man
Kirk
territory too.
Yeah, but he's not
Marcus
Christian Kirk
Robinson
and
too.
Debo still flashed last year at times that still showing that there's gas left in his tank. We're not even talking about Christian Kirk. Like Christian Kirk would be the one be like, yeah, I have no J.K. Dobbins. These guys are just not going to stay healthy. But Mike Evans, for basically the first time in his career, didn't play 15, 16 games. Debo Samuel should be it's just, and then you bring in CMC and George Kittle. Yeah, we can make the joke that this is potentially a walking wounded lineup out there. But I mean, we're talking about the path that what Ian said, like 4th or 5th at best. He has to get past CMC, Kittle, Mike Evans, possibly Debo, just to get to 4th. So that's really what it comes down to. The Lane situation is the same thing. Yeah, we can make jokes about Bateman. Doyle's already talking him up about using him more than this previous regime ever did. So Bateman, Mark Andrews still being a red zone threat. I just think that we're looking at teams where okay, where's the path to get there? Now, I would actually go between the two of them. One injury, if we just said both teams have one injury to the wide receiver, who's more likely to step up? I would say it's Lane because he's got a clearer path than Stribling does.
But I nothing against Lamar and these receivers, but it's usually just one receiver, a tight end, and some running backs gaining some points here. He's never really been able to support a wide receiver too. I think I like Stribling for the sole fact that I don't ever have to play him. He just needs to be on my bench. And there's a scenario, Jake, where it breaks his way. And all of a sudden, hey, I have a wide receiver 2 in a Shanahan offense. This is really good.
Yeah, well, you could say that, but that's the thing. You could say the same thing about Lane. I mean, Rashad Bateman had 8-9 touchdowns just 2 years ago.
Yeah,
if Lamar's going to throw 40 touchdowns,
having never been played, people aren't play. There was never a time during that run where you're like, man, Rashad Bateman, top 20 receiver. Let's go.
Leave my guy Rashad Bateman out of this. You know what he did this last weekend? He rested with the starters, which is the best thing you can do.
Well, this is my last question.
There you go.
This is my last question for Jake because I know that he has to bounce here. Resting with starters versus not resting with starters. Jadarian Price versus George Holani. Holani played into the second quarter with the backups and didn't get to rest with the starters. Feel like that's very telling.
That is very telling. Exactly what we thought it would be, or at least people like myself. Is Jadarian Price is going to be the lead.
He's banged up though.
Who, Price? Yeah, but he's already come back. And they had the opportunities. This is Jadarian Price will be fine. Fine as an RB2. Let's just be clear on this. He's in the 20 to 24 range for me, and just that's fine to be excited about. But I think there's a real conversation to have Jadarian Price versus some of those other timeshare running backs that we're talking about that aren't lead option, but still timeshare options.
Well, Ian, would you rather have someone like Rico Dowdle, who reporters are saying might actually be sort of the workhorse here with Jalen Warren taking a back seat? Would you rather go Rico Dowdle or Jadarian Price?
I still have Price just as the first round. I do think sometimes we're missing the forest for a trees of Price. He is a first round running back for the defending Super Bowl champs who don't have either of their top 2 running backs from last season currently, expected to be out there in week 1. Rico and Warren, though, man, once you do get into that muddled, ambiguous RB3 zone, just either one. So usually Rico's going a couple rounds cheaper than Warren, which is why I've drafted him more often. But it's an offense where we saw it last year, man. Old man Aaron Rodgers is going to be checking the ball down a lot. Offensive line's improving. I think Rico and Warren are both pretty solid real-life players. So they had multiple top 24 running backs in that offense last year. I think they have a chance to do so again this year.
Yeah, I have Rico ranked above. I go Price and then Rico, and then a round later I have Warren. I think if I'm going to gamble on this, Jake, I'd rather have the guy with the potential to be the goal line back, the potential to be a workhorse, where it feels like Warren is at best case 1A. He's never just going to be 1.
No, and we talked about this way back on the running back show, and I think we were all in agreement in the fact that Dowdle over Warren, mostly because they both fit McCarthy's offense. And Dowdle has 3-down ability, the goal line options, and then everybody's like, no, Aaron Rodgers is too old. He needs somebody to pass block, and Warren's such a better pass blocker than Dowdle. I'm like, okay, how's that working out? Like, this is the same thing we did last. Trevion Henderson, the best pass blocking running back we've ever seen come out of college. How's that work out? So, like, chill a little bit on the pass blocking of what that means. It does factor a little bit. I think the bigger tell here was, again, we're all in complete agreement, Dowdle over or Warren, if we don't have to pay an exorbitant price difference. But understand what you're getting here. Like, there's a really good chance that we get inconsistency, and you're going to be annoyed if you try to play which week do I start Dowdle, which week do I start Warren. The answer is just put them in your flex and stop trying to figure it out.
I've bought a ton of stuff from Wayfair over the years, and one of the biggest upgrades for us has been outdoor furniture. We needed something that could handle real life, kids, weather, people constantly being over here and using it, but without spending a fortune. Wayfair made that easy to find, that special something that fit our space, the style, and our budget. And now you can shop with Wayfair Verified, where product specialists use a 10-point quality inspection to hand vet pieces for things like materials, functionality, features, and even how long they take to build. Plus, there are more than 20 million verified 5-star reviews with real customer photos so you can actually see what you're getting before you buy it. Join Wayfair Rewards today to get 5% back on every purchase and start saving on your next home upgrade. Head to wayfair.com to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. My relationship with money has most certainly changed over the years. When I was younger, it was basically make money, spend money. Hopefully there's enough left over, and even if there wasn't, we'll figure that out. That's a problem for future Pat Mayo to deal with. But now, with a family, business, investments, a million different expenses, I actually do want to know where everything is going. That's where Monarch has really helped me out. It puts your accounts, investments, spending, and saving goals all in one place so you can actually see the entire financial picture. And I really like the AI assistant. You can ask specific questions about your own finances instead of digging through months of transactions for yourself. Write your own money story with Monarch. Use code PATMAYO at monarch.com to get your first year of Monarch Core half off, just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PATMAYO. If you've been sitting on a business idea forever, at some point, you just got to start. Shopify removes a lot of the excuses because everything you need to start selling is already there from day one. And when you finally get that first customer, Spotify checkout makes it easy for them to actually finish the purchase. Returning customers can have their details saved. So it's basically one tap and they're done. Shopify handles all the setup and checkout, giving you more time to focus on actually growing the business. I know from my perspective, having people and having systems like Shopify to help me out really saves me a ton of time so I can actually focus on the content, the actual business. And that can be the same case for you too. With Shopify, nothing stands between your idea and a real business. So go make one. Start your free trial at shopify.com/PatMayo. Start your free trial at shopify.com/PatMayo. You put in the work. It's time to get paid like it. Free trial at shopify.com/PatMayo. Ian, the Rams continue to run out this 13 personnel, so 3 tight ends on the field at all times with 1 running back, and the big winner was Max Clare this time around in week 1, but there's been a lot of this Terrence Ferguson stuff going around. He's like, oh, he is the late round sleeper. We talked about it on the last show that we did. Do you think this is good news for him, bad news for him, or is this, if they're going to continue to play this 13 personnel, that it's just going to bother you when other tight ends are scoring touchdowns and your guy isn't?
It's probably going to be more so bothersome than anything. But again, if there is a chip to put down, it's Ferguson. We've had the drumbeat, the idea that he could be tight end 1/wide receiver 3, one of the August staples that we have going on every year. And I'll say this, guys, again, I got my Buckeye Snoopy shirt on right now. Like, Okay, shout out Max Clare. The amount of people who I've just seen based on 7 catches for 37 yards be like, oh my God, the usage for Max Clare in Columbus last year was egregious. Chill out, all right? Ty Simpson looked fine out there, but the fact that the Rams didn't even have their meaningful starters or even a lot of the backups travel to this game kind of tells you all you need to know about year one Max Clare. So it's still going to be Terrence Ferguson, Colby Parkinson, Tyler Higbee, and probably even Davis Allen ahead of this dude. Ferguson is the one that gets the reps downfield. I do think he has the highest upside. And, when you get that late in the draft, why not throw a dart there?
There's also a case to be made that, yes, I think that we're really focusing in on the 3 tight end sets because the Rams have a propensity to do that. Now they're doing it at a higher rate. Could it be that with Ty Simpson out there where they didn't see him, they basically wanted to make him a Deshaun Watson type of game where it's like, hey, let's have 5 air yards on every pass. That they put their guys on the field with low ADOTs to help them out?
Yeah, I mean, they had no wide receivers going on out there as well. So, from the Rams' perspective, it certainly worked last season using all the heavy formations. So why wouldn't they keep on keeping on with it? We have heard them kind of thrown in with some of these wide receivers. They're apparently interested in Mekhi Lemon before, the draft, end up going with a quarterback instead. We'll find out how that move looks in like 3 years. So I do wonder if they could have another wide receiver move on the way, but I think that's kind of the allure for Ferguson right now because we shouldn't intuitively hate heavy personnel, Pat. I mean, if it's taking the player off the field, that's a problem. But if we get a 70% route rate for Terrence Ferguson, and a lot of those routes are coming with guys like Tyler Higbee and Davis Allen on the field instead of really good wide receivers, like that's actually a plus.
Washington running back news. We don't know who the starter is going to be between Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt or Rachaad White at this point, but Robert Henry looked pretty good. Creighton Allen looked okay as well. Do you think that there's a chance that these guys can just be the number one, out of nowhere because the other 2 guys aren't very good?
Not really, but if there was going to be a backfield where it could happen, it would be this one. So again, if you wanted to rank the Washington Commanders running back room as a whole dead last in the NFL, I don't think you would get a ton of pushback for it. Still do think, again, the fact Rachaad White and Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt were resting, probably good news for them. We have seen, though, over these past couple of years, Washington rotating plenty of these guys. So I've gone back and forth on kind of Bill versus Rachaad White. Obviously, the pass down stuff is really good for White, but maybe we do actually see Bill get more of that, Brian Robinson 200-plus carry workload, and Rachaad White's more of an Austin Eckler plus situation. So I do think, though, Pat, again, I'm not really drafting Allen or Robert Henry at this point. Again, just the fact they were out there isn't really all that good for them in the first place. But you get to that RB4 range, if it's Rachaad White, if it's Bill Croskey-Merritt, we don't know right now. Anyone that says they know for sure is being a liar to you. That's okay. There's liars in this world. But the second we figure out who it is, I mean, they're going to be ranked probably as a low-end RB2. So pretty good, shot to be taken here in mid-August.
I like Rachaad White better. I think that his skill set is more conducive to fantasy. And if he does get a bigger workload, then we're bonanza time because he's a great pass catcher. He's a great pass blocker, and he's really good around the goal line. Even Tampa last year was still using him around the goal line over Buccaneer in the last 2 years that they've been doing this. So there's something about that. And I think that I talked about this on a golf show I did with Feinberg earlier, that certain golfers, like Harold Varner being black, made him really stand out on a golf course when everyone else is white. Being a big fat golfer helped you stand out. You're like, hey, everyone's in great shape now. Hey, there's the fat golfer. You're very easily recognizable. Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt going by Bill just makes him inherently more popular.
Are you aware of the Kaytron Allen nickname, Pat?
What is it?
Fat Man.
See, there we go. See, this could be. We still remember Mike Tolbert all these years later.
It's so true, though. We get this one little bit that just goes absolutely insane with it. Even Jalen Coker. I mean, he's good and everything. Don't get me wrong, but definitely has more hype than he probably should just because all the cokehead memes out there.
Yeah. And so I think that Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt falls into that trap that he feels like a lot like Fool's Gold. Maybe he's okay. I just never see him having the full-time role in this backfield. Where not that I think that Rachaad White's going to play 90% of the snaps, but if you told me that it was 60% for Bill or 60% for White, I think the 60% for White are more valuable to my fantasy team.
I mean, we've seen him have a legit RB1 season back in 2023. And even in 2024, man, Bucky didn't take over that backfield until the final month of the season. I think White actually still finished RB23 on a per game basis. So in respect to Bill, the hype got so absurd last preseason that it was just always going to be tough for him to meet it. Just in a vacuum, man, a 7th-round rookie having 870 total yards and 8 touchdowns is pretty good out there. So I don't want to completely write the dude off yet, but I do think there's something to it where like Bill probably has the more aesthetically pleasing, big play runs that people like you and me are like, oh, that was really cool. Good for him. Who actually hits all their assignments, who actually makes, the coach's playbook come to life a little bit more often. I think that's Rachaad White. And that is why I have maintained, White being just ahead of Bill. But if it's one of those things, Pat, where I have them ranked like right next to each other. And you always say that's a good sign that we don't fully know what's going on. So if we are seeing a multiple round gap between the guys, basically what I'm saying is I'm pretty cool leaving a draft with a Washington running back. I prefer White, but I'll throw a dart at Bill too.
I'm exactly the same way as you. I probably wouldn't throw the dart at Bill. I would take White, or if I didn't get Bill, I'd be like, yeah, fine. If I have him at 107 and 111, like they're firmly a part of that high end handcuff, back end of split guys, because I just have no idea. But one of them could. There's a chance that neither of them have any value this year, and you just never want to. The mark of a bad fantasy team that you end up with Rico Dowdle and Ja'Cory Croskey-Merritt as your running backs, and you lose every single week. That's always a lot of fun. More Washington news. Marcus Mariota is out for the preseason. He got injured in week 1, should be good for week 1 of the regular season. This one I thought was interesting, goes back to our discussion and maybe even your video that you're going to do is what would happen if the starter wasn't there? Well, Kenneth Walker wasn't there for the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1 of the preseason. And then all of a sudden, Emmett Johnson looks really good, and he's going up against like Amari DiMercado and Brashard Smith. And I do think that being the backup to Kenneth Walker could pay really big dividends at some point.
I hear you, man. He impressed out there. He even had a couple, bigger plays that got called back by penalty, so the counting numbers could have looked even better out there. Advanced stats, matched the eye test. PFF credited him with 8 missed tackles forced. Nobody else had more than 5 on the week. So talented, dual threat dude. I just continue to wonder, Pat, as long as Kareem Hunt is a free agent, if we just see literally what the Chiefs did last year, and that's bring him in if there does happen to be an injury to their starting running back early on in the season. So honestly, look, Kenneth Walker, they got 43 million reasons to feed him the football, but I want him to have that workhorse role because that's what we want in fantasy football. And from a Chiefs perspective, like Kareem Hunt was one of the best short yardage running backs in the league last season. And that's what Zach Charbonnet did for Kenneth Walker. And as much as we complained about it, like Charbonnet was good in short yardage situations, I'm confused why Kareem Hunt is even still, someone who's out there in free agency. So I moved Emmett Johnson up the ranks. He deserves the benefit of the doubt for now, but there's just some of these teams, man. Kansas City, Indianapolis is another one. Baltimore is another one where I just wonder if the real handcuff answer is like, all right, the team would probably just sign someone else.
Well, Hunt makes it. Maybe they can be able to teach one of these guys to do why they bring Kareem Hunt in, because it's not like you're bringing in Kareem Hunt because he's such a steady hand. He's going to get you those, although he wasn't great at getting first downs. That was like his thing. But he just understands he understands this Andy Reid offense so well that you can literally just plug him in. And to your point about Rachaad White and running backs that can fulfill what the coaches design in a playbook that they can go out and execute. Clearly, Kareem Hunt can do that for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's probably why he doesn't get picked up by any other team besides the Chiefs at this point. That if one of these guys, and the most likely candidate right now would be Emmett Johnson, that all of a sudden you don't need Kareem Hunt anymore. You have this guy, and it's not like, Kenneth Walker's hurt. We got 95% snap share for Emmett Johnson. It's probably not going to work like that. But if you can get like 65% of them, if Kenneth Walker goes down, which he's known to do throughout the course of time, that all of a sudden you have a low-end running back too on your hands and a good offense, potentially.
And Emmett's got the pass catching chops. But that's another reason why I'm just confused why they haven't had someone like Hunt in there, because Emmett Johnson's only 200 pounds. Amari DiMercado's a little bigger, but he's been a career pass down guy. And Brashard Smith, they didn't trust enough to use him as anything other than the gadget throughout last season. So seems like they're kind of missing a running back from this room. I don't know if the Alligator dude, Carson Steele, is still hanging around somewhere, but we'll see what goes on here. Because again, the whole kind of thought process with Kansas City has been like, all right, Mahomes coming back from the ACL, not all that deep at, receiver. Maybe we see them embrace the run game a little more often, but I'm kind of with you, Pat. Like planning on giving Kenneth Walker 20, 30 touches per week is all fun and games in August. We'll see if he can hold up throughout September and October.
Yeah, I put Emmett Johnson in at 153 in the rankings. That's part of that Isaiah Pacheco, Woody Marks type tier that if you're taking a late round flyer, want a handcuff, this one currently to me makes the most sense. Maybe this changes in a week and we drop him back off the list once we get more news about the situation, but that's a gamble that does make sense based on the injury history of Kenneth Walker. And as you mentioned, like there's the Kareem Hunt role. It's not really Kareem Hunt they're looking for. They're finally looking for someone to replace Jerick McKinnon. The moment Jerick McKinnon weirdly left this team, the offense kind of started getting shitty.
That that was a fever dream of a year in 2022. Because that's the one thing, man. We didn't have the immediate drop off in this offense once Tyreek left town. We had this 2022 Super Bowl. Mahomes was still, I think, the fantasy QB1. We had McKinnon going nuts, Kelsey, and then like a bunch of wide receivers like Juju and Tony and Mecole Hardman having 500 or 600 yards. So Bieniemy was still in town there. I am not going to go ahead and say Eric Bieniemy is the reason for their success and they fell off, but did have Matt Nagy coming back. I understand Andy Reid's usually the play caller anyway, but it's just tough to know what to think about this Chiefs team, Pat, because I feel like everyone's kind of leaving them for dead. They had that massive one-score regression last year. They famously went, 11-0 in 2024. They went 1-9 last season. I mean, they had a significantly better point differential than the Chargers last year, despite their, 6-11 record versus the Chargers being 11-6. So I look at the roster, and I don't really believe in it, but you know what? Doubting Patrick Mahomes might be a bad idea.
Noah Brown signed with the Raiders, so more competition coming in for their lack of competition at wide receiver. I love Noah Brown, so I will probably draft him because I'm such a sucker, but he won me so much money on DraftKings that year in Dallas. It was unbelievable. And
4 touchdowns against Oklahoma back in the day. People forget.
Dude was so good for like a 5 week. No, it was with the Texans. It was the Texans against Dallas was that big game that he ended up having. I don't know why the Texans ever let him go, but I do have Texans news that Jalen, the first Noel, has a hamstring injury and a finger injury. He's going to be out a few weeks after suffering a setback. Does this allow Tank Dell to maybe become the wide receiver 3 if he's healthy?
It helps because right now I viewed it as Nico and Jaden Higgins like cemented as the top 2. And I just kind of thought Dell and Jalen, the first Noel, as you eloquently put it, would be kind of rotating in that next spot. So they got other guys they like to rotate in. Xavier Hutchinson is one of them. Obviously have a bunch of tight ends as well. And, this is also an offense that likes to use a fullback. I just think behind Nico Collins, man, it just feels like, kind of we're just wishing for something to happen. That's probably not. It's going to be a ball control run first offense with a freaking badass defense. I'm kind of just, again, in the camp where I don't think it's overly likely we get anyone beyond Nico doing their thing. But, if Tank Dell is somehow back to being the absolute baller he was as a rookie, he can make me look dumb for doubting him.
Menunganai got hurt. He's believed to be fine. There's still an MRI coming out for that Bears backfield. Marcus Mariota has mentioned sprained his MCL, missed the remainder of the preseason. And Luther Burden, he spotted jogging on the field. That's good news.
Very good news. Even had some cuts in there, Pat. I was analyzing. He should be back by week 1. I'm holding firm on Luther Burden.
I am too. I still have him as a top 36 overall option. I have number 38 overall. It's a spot behind Lad McConkey, but I still have him over Jake's buddy, Chris Olave.
People are freaking out with some of these ranks. I didn't get a chance to say it earlier, but like Josh Jacobs, someone who, again, in our heart of hearts, I think we all agree should be out there in week 1, is probably not going to be suspended just based on the history of the NFL moving slow with this stuff. I got him at like the 4th pick of round 5 in a league with a bunch of alleged fantasy experts, Pat. So again, I do think if you guys are out there drafting right now, Jeremiah Love, Breece Hall, and these guys, they could really start falling, man. And I don't want to say it's a falling knife. I think it could be like a falling, candy cane, something that's not a knife. So we'll see what happens, man. But that is one of the advantages of drafting throughout this month. I think people tend to overreact a little bit to injuries that, again, a month from now, we could just not even be worried about at all.
Sorry. The Skattebo, you just mentioned cuts. Do you see the Skattebo footage of his knee, like kind of buckling?
No.
During a route?
Pre-game?
Did you see that?
It was pregame. That's just MetLife, again, having the worst turf on the planet.
Okay. All right. I was going to say, does that make you more interested in Tracy if you think his knee is like, on the edge?
Not really. I'm worried about this Bills field too. Apparently that sucks now. The turf there.
Yeah, they have the horrible the views in the crowd as well. It didn't exactly got the Fenway Park vibe going on there. So I've had Skattebo and Judkins just lower because, again, it's one of those things where we hear they're going to be back by week 1, but we don't consider them looking at less than 100%. Again, not a doctor, contrary to popular belief. Dr. Jeff Mueller, though, did say he was actually a little more concerned about how Judkins was moving on the field even over Skattebo. So they're probably 2 bad offenses, man. The bigger concern for me, again, is the fact that Tracy and Singletary, they were the dudes getting more routes even than Skattebo, because that's been the sort of, okay, is Skattebo a dead zone sort of profile? Because we don't really like the Giants offense. Skattebo is kind of fun, but I don't think we're going to argue for him to be this top 10 real life talent. We're really just kind of hoping he gets the volume, particularly through the air. If he's not going to be getting, 5-6 targets per game, that's a big problem.
Oh, for sure. And if he's not getting the goal line touches, it's an even bigger problem.
they have goal line touches.
Dart will run in like 5 or 6 this year.
Well, exactly. That's another issue. Dart's one of those mobile quarterbacks. Sure, he's going to be doing his thing. Already another trip into the medical tent. Wasn't really his fault this time, but come on.
Listen, if I set the over-under at 6.5 blue tent visits for Jaxson Dart this year, everyone would bet the over.
They would. They would.
So, tough.
Nice touchdown, though.
Yeah.
Good ball.
He's fun when he's on the field. It's just, can he stay on the field? And I think that he is for a quarterback, he's such a good gamble for your fantasy team, mainly because of that if he played all 17 games playing how he plays and never had to miss time, you'd probably pencil him as a top 5 quarterback, wouldn't you?
Yeah, pretty much, man, with the way he runs and the history we see with it. So again, I wish we had just anyone in this coaching staff we could feel a little better about. But I remember we were going through the quarterbacks, Pat, and I was just saying, Jared Goff, as late as he goes, he's the insurance. And I understand your point where it's a 12-team league. We want to start someone that's not Jared Goff. But I think when you're playing with relatively sharpish individuals who aren't taking their second quarterback super early, we've all been in leagues where that happens. You don't even have to get to Goff. You can get a Jaxson Dart or a Bo Nix, round 12 or 13 even sometimes, man. So just guys like Dart and Nix hanging out there with Goff as your, stopgate. More and more reasons for me just to wait at QB.
Yeah, and just draft Dart. Hopefully it works out. If it doesn't, go pick up. Malik Willis looked pretty good this weekend. I don't know how much stock I'm putting into that, but I still think that he's another even later fantasy option that you can turn to with all of this upside. If he sucks, just go find someone else. Not that big of a deal. Final thing, because you
Kyler as well. Pat, I was wrong. You actually haven't brought it up today. I appreciate that. You haven't brought up how wrong I was about Justin Fields last year. The biggest reason I was wrong with Justin Fields last year was because he was still costing us like a low-end borderline QB1 price tag. Malik and Kyler are free, man. You can just draft them alongside, just these regular handcuff running backs or wide receivers that are going to be on the waiver wire anyway. And, cycle through. Your Tyler Shucks are there as well if that's more your cup of tea. Baker Mayfield is 1 year removed from 20-plus fantasy points per game. Wait at QB.
I would rather have all those guys over Baker. I think Baker's going to be running less. And as I've previously pointed out on this show, that I just don't believe in this Tampa offense this year.
Yeah, I get it.
They're a good fade offense for me. We'll see if that ends up working in my favor or not. But your point about these fantasy leagues and the expert leagues and overthinking them. I haven't played in one of these things in like a decade. Since I won Jake's Flex League, I retired from playing in all, I think it was 2016, 2017, one of those years. Mainly because, here's the little inside scoop if people are wondering. They're like, oh, I can't believe this guy went here in this expert league. Most of the quote-unquote experts and people that cover the stuff full-time, they play in a lot of these things, Ian. So everyone can say that they have this expert league title and this expert league title. What I learned from doing these over the years, that you get invited to a ton. They're always looking for people, so you end up playing like 15 of them. Well, you're going to be like pretty competitive in like 4 of them. That's generally how it goes. You might be middling. You might try to manage all of them. But eventually you just start to focus on a few of them. And there are some of the leagues where, let's say me and you play in 14 separate leagues, but we're in like 3 of the same of them. If my team is good in one and your team isn't after like 7 weeks, well, you're going to stop paying attention to that one. And it's going to make it easier for me to win.
That's why guillotine leagues are the best, man. Because once your team sucks, you get eliminated. You can just move on
done
with your life. And the waiver wires are freaking fantastic. So no, nothing's worse than having that corpse of a team that you just got to try to keep carrying. And to your point, when we're in so many other leagues, man, you obviously will start to care a little bit less about it. So I hear you, man. Look, we all join so many leagues. Like if you can't just luck into a win here or there, like that's just, bad math at a certain point. So, they're fun at the end of the day. It's cool getting the belts, but yeah. I hear. I'll say this, Pat. There's a lot of people who work full time in this industry who they aren't even drafting all that much, man. Big names probably don't even have a best ball draft this year. Probably not even in more than a couple leagues. And I don't know. I think you need to. I'm not even someone who I want to be like, oh, you need to be in all these super high stakes leagues. But for the ranks, like we've talked about this, like I think putting yourself on the clock at a minimum in a bunch of best ball drafts, or just some again more lower stakes redraft stuff. It just forces you, I think, as a content creator and someone who wants to give good fantasy advice to go ahead and make the best decision because you're putting yourself in that situation. Like when you're just looking through the ranks and saying, oh, look at that ADP. People are in 2 or 3 drafts and doing that, man. Just not the best advice in my humble opinion.
I have done a bunch of season-long drafts so far. I have done 0 best ball drafts, hence why I have not done any best ball content.
Yeah, we draft and we redraft here, so that's cool.
Yeah, I really like
Can
best
you
ball.
even do best ball in Canada?
Oh yeah, just not in Ontario or Alberta. I mean, I just won $27,000 in PGA best ball.
Boy.
Love
That's right. I saw that.
Love golf best ball. Golf best ball is fun. Do you know why? Because the drafts take 7 minutes.
Oh, that's actually pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, I got 3 kids. I got a brand new baby. I'm doing this full time. I prefer season long anyway. I don't begrudge people who want to do best ball, but I don't like I actually like to draft my teams. I don't like to set a set of rankings and go through. If I ran out when I was running out of time in PJ to draft 150 teams, then yeah, I did that for the last 20 because I was going to fill and I wasn't going to be able to do it physically. I don't got 50 minutes to sit there and just draft a fucking football team, man. I don't.
I do it on the treadmill, bro. It makes me want to kill myself a little bit less. So I'm trying to burn a few calories. I
was doing that but even that is still too long. You're walking on the treadmill. How long are these drafts taking?
I can get on the incline. I get 500 calories burned in about 43, 44 minutes, which actually lines up pretty perfect.
That's not bad. I don't know if I want to be on a treadmill for 50 minutes. If I'm not running. If I'm running, yes. Walking, no thanks.
I go incline. So then I just think I'm trying to get that ratio because I've always just hated cardio, that ratio of a lot of calories and not hating my life. And I think that incline treadmill 15 with a 3 speed while I'm drafting, listening to music, that's the only way I can do it.
Okay. I can get behind that. So I tried to switch up because I've just been running for 10 straight years now. I was like, hey, you know what? I should take it easier on my body. Let's do some of this incline walking. I get so bored. You know what is not boring to me? Pumping it to 8.5 on a treadmill, 1.5 incline, and running for 45 minutes. You're focused the entire time, or else you're going to fall off.
If you can be home too, I'm trying to get my garage gym set up. I've been saying this for the last year, so we'll see if it ever happens. But just being able to, again, because you're not exerting that much force. I get you, so it is boring. But man, if you can get your PS5 sticks in your hand or something too, that's another thing. We need the new GTA, Pat. I just need to be running through the streets of wherever that game's going to be, hitting people with golf clubs while I'm drafting best ball on my treadmill. That is a utopia that I hope to soon have.
I have the treadmill in my basement, so I have the TV there. So I usually just either watch golf or watch football while I'm running.
That works. Do you have a pretty high powered treadmill?
I do, yeah. My wife got me one for Christmas 2 years ago, the new Nordic track. I guess it's probably behind the times now, but it's really springy and it's been really good for my knees.
Were you able just to plug it in fine, or do you have to do the whole extra circuit thing?
No, plugged it in fine.
Awesome. Good news.
I don't know if that works for everyone's house or everyone's treadmill, but it worked for mine. So
if it blows up my electrical unit, I'll just send you a bill. Not a big deal. And we'll be done with it.
All right. Ian Hartitz, check him out over at RotoWire. You can get all of his content down in the description, and he's doing videos. Is that on the RotoWire YouTube channel or your own personal YouTube channel?
Fantasy Football with Ian Hartitz personal YouTube channel, presented or powered by RotoWire, whatever the hell you want to go with it. But yeah, we got the podcast going on too. Just I'm posting pretty much every day out there. So building block by block, Pat, it's a fun time.
I can see that. You're a fun time. So that makes a lot of sense.
Appreciate you, brother.
The rankings are now officially updated. You hit the description. You will find the most up-to-date rankings for August 17th. I'll change them again with big news, and you'll always see the date of when they were updated on what day. So you'll be able to know that if you're doing your drafts. All right, I'm Pat Mayo. Smash a like, share the show around, sub to Mayo Media Network, and I will see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!